And we are back here on the afternoon Ask Anything. I'm Chris Carter here with Gerard Gilberto. Now, Gerard's coming off a long road trip covering the Pirates. I'm coming off sitting in my living room, getting to talk to Steelers on OTAs and everything. We got Dale Lawley who's there handling that. But we are here, the writers of DKPittsburghSports.com, taking your questions for the next half hour right here on live air. Just anywhere where this video is posted, whether it's Facebook Live, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Periscope, if you're watching on Twitter, just post your question in the comments, and as long as it's Pittsburgh sports related and appropriate, we will address it. So ask us anything, even if it's not Pittsburgh sports related, and just be sports related. Gerard, first of all, it's good to be on the show with you, man. How you been?
It's good, man. It's good. Good to be back in my own bed. It's fun. It wasn't that bad a trip, not at all. It was a good time. My old I used to live down in Atlanta. Spent the weekend down there.
Okay.
And then found the barber in Pittsburgh too. These are exciting times, Chris. These are very exciting times.
There it is. There it is. You found the right barber. Oh, okay. Okay, Gerard. I do see your hair does look kind of nice, sir. So obviously you going to the right guy there.
Less of the Chia Pet look that I had.
Less of the Chia Pet. Hey, man, listen, I've been there. It's been rough for, like, I don't get Chia Pet. I get like mini fro, and it's like, it starts getting too much. So, but again, we're taking your questions here. You can also listen to this if you miss any of our answers on our podcast format, where you can download us at Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are hosted. So let's get things off. First of all, we got a hey guys from Eric Straight Up, one of our all-time listeners. Dude's always on here every show. Thank you so much for being here, Eric. We appreciate you. Now we got an overall baseball question for you here, Gerard. So this is definitely you, because I don't know overall baseball. I can keep up with the Pirates. But Rick Marone asks, who do you think will be the first MLB manager to get fired this year? Curious. I know it's really early to say that.
Yeah, I know where you're headed with this. It's not going to be Derek Shelton. This is there. Let's take a detour here real quick. The Pirates are playing up to expectations. So, like, no manager gets fired, and unless they're like, there's a real candidate that they love somewhere else. But no manager gets fired from a bad team because they're a bad team. Like, this was expected. Definitely, at least not in the middle of the season. I don't know this. It's tough for me to say. I hate these questions because I hate. I don't know. I'm a softie. I don't like talking about people getting fired, losing their jobs. I don't know. It's May. It's tough to tell in May.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't think it's. The injuries are up around the league. Hitting's down. There's league-wide just messes happening. I wouldn't be surprised if something happened in Colorado, only because it was a new GM there. The Mets already fired their hitting coaches. Like, I don't know. I would look at new regimes and see how they're interacting with the regular guys. I don't see a situation where Tony La Russa gets kicked to the curb by the guy that hired Jerry Krause. I don't know. I honestly can't say that right now in May.
I feel you. As people are rolling in, don't forget you can leave your questions here. Also, this show is brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar in the North Shore Tavern on the North Shore of Pittsburgh on Federal Street, right across the street from PNC Park. You go there, you can get over 500 selections of beer. That is not beer that he's drinking right there, right now, because it had some Coke. There you go. But at Mike's Beer Bar, they have over 500 selections of beer, 80 on tap at all times, and most of them right from the local area of Western Pennsylvania. So you can check out all the amazing breweries that are in this area. Trust me, I check them out all the time. They also have great food with steak on a stone, shrimp on a stone, scallops on a stone. They have so many great options. So check out them. Absolutely. We're going to continue here. First of all, we're getting some hellos in here. David Harris, I noticed, man, he's my cousin. Good afternoon from Philly. What's up, David? Thank you so much for showing up. We're going to get to your question in just a little bit, but we got a Steelers question here. Steelers fan, 11-11-68. So double Chase Claypool and Chris Kimo-Atu. I think that is right there if we're going numbers. But Steelers fan asks, what rookies will start week 1 versus the Bills? Good question. It's way too early to tell, but I do see Najee Harris obviously being penciled in as the starter. But after that, I'm not so sure who else might start. I don't think that they'd give the reins over to Pat Freiermuth to start right away over Eric Ebron. Considering Ebron, has been there and he's developed a little bit of rapport with Ben Roethlisberger. Kendrick Green would have a shot. He'd be the other realistic take there. But again, how quickly does he adapt to this offense? How quickly does he adapt to the NFL? BJ Finney's been with the team for years. I think they're going to respect that. Mike Tomlin's already said they kind of respect that. So I wouldn't put Kendrick Green. I mean, Najee Harris is the obvious one. Kendrick Green and maybe the other reasonable maybe on this list is Buddy Johnson, who I just wrote about for Carter's Classroom on DKPittsburghSports.com. Go check that out, by the way. But just a film study of how he works and how he could be a great complement to who Devin Bush is as an inside linebacker for this defense. I really think that's your ticket right there, is if Buddy Johnson can quickly adapt to the NFL, he'll be there. But I don't see him starting day one over Vince Williams. Just not with how much Vince has meant to this defense, how much of a leader he's been, how much is he's fit in there. He knows the system. Vince will be starting day one and working with Devin, but they'll be working Buddy Johnson in with how big and how athletic and how fast he is. I think he's going to get worked in there day one. But everyone else, I think they'll be sitting back. I guess I'll take that back. Presley Harvin, he'll technically start as your punter for day one because I think that dude's got a cannon for a leg. So good question though. So I got those rookies starting there. Steelers fan. Oh, yeah, sorry. We're going to go back up because sometimes this thing moves around a little bit. We have another Pirates question. Aha! Steelers fan 111168 says, why are the Pirates not trying to trade Adam Frazier right now while he has value?
Nobody said they're not trying. It takes two to get a deal done. Ben Sherrington said even a month ago that that the phone's ringing, they're talking. That's how these things work. I had someone mention the Mets specifically because they have 17 guys on the IL right now, and that those are the type of tough situations right now for the Pirates to want to make that deal because you're not going to maximize your return for a guy that another team views as a rental, and you should be trying to maximize your return. That could be done in July. That could be done in yesterday. So long as the right deal is the right deal, that's when they're going to pull the trigger. And they are, nobody said they haven't been trying. So, it's just a matter of time before something gets done. There's a reason you don't see a trade every day in any sport. This is everybody has the same tactics, negotiation, whatever it is.
I hear that. Got a few other things here we want to get to. Andy Motor Mark 17 says, how do you actually think the offensive line will do this year? I think that's a good question. I think the offensive line isn't going to be elite. And see, here's the thing that I want to prepare Steelers fans for. I don't see this offensive line being where it was in the mid 2010s when they were either the best offensive line or top three. Like there was a period of time where they were just consistently just kicking people's butts off the line of scrimmage and protecting Ben Roethlisberger. They're not going to get back to that right away. They may get there in a few years with Kevin Dotson, if one of these tackles can work out, if Kendrick Green fits in the form, I think they have potential to have a young core to build around here. But this year they're going to take some molding. I think that they can play around the average level of NFL offensive lines. And if they do that, I think this team's competing. Again, I'm not saying believe that this offensive line is going to blow people out of the water. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to be the worst in the league this year. And I know that people graded them on run blocking things. It was clear that they were prioritizing protecting Ben Roethlisberger last year with a new scheme, a new ideology, and a new concept of how the offensive line is going to work. I think you're going to see an improved group this year centering around that scheme. Now, Gerard, you cover baseball. I cover football and a little bit of college hoops. But sometimes, right. But sometimes we get some hockey questions when we on here. So we got to talk about this. And this one's an easy one. This is the talk around Pittsburgh all today because the Penguins blew it in double overtime last night to the Islanders. Apostolus Paul Lazara says, time for the Pens to blow it up. And this, I think I've heard this discussion for the past 4 years. It's time to blow it up. It's time to get even before they won 2016 and 2017 in back-to-back seasons. I heard this narrative. Crosby, Malkin, just get rid of, just start all over again. This is never going to work. And listen, I get the frustrations about how that game worked out. But I'm sorry. I can't. I'm not for blowing things up unless you talk to these guys in the background and there's certain things about building towards the future that they're just not going to help you with. I'd still work to try and keep the pieces that you think are relevant and still maybe address some of the things that you're weak at. Maybe goalies, a situation that we'll look at. But again, this team finished number 1 in their division. No one expected them to finish first in the East. They've just run into a really high-playing goalie in Sokolov, and you see how he's been able to shut things down for the Islanders. I don't think that's a blow it up situation. Maybe it is for some people. I'm not the hockey guy, but Gerard, I'm just not on that boat.
I would just look. What is it? About a mile north. And what's going on at the baseball stadium? Are you prepared for that? Many years of that?
That's what it is. You blow it up. That's what blowing it up looks like. Is the Pirates.
And it's not like they had 2 Hall of Famers on the team when they started their rebuild. So, I don't know, man. I would tend to think that there's pieces to build off of for a first place team. Just speaking blindly.
Yeah, just off of the strength of that. And listen, I get Pens fans' anxiety after the way that game ended, and that was extremely frustrating. And to see your Penguins outshoot the Islanders by almost double or whatever it was at the end of the game, I get that. But that's just like I don't go that far. Moving right along, we have a basketball question. Look at us, back-to-back questions outside of our field here. David Harris asks us, who do you think will make the NBA Finals? I've been going back and forth about the East. I feel like the East is, you could say the Nets because they're shooting. They got the scores, but the way the Bucks are playing the Heat right now, man, Giannis and that crew are going to be tough to deal with. I still see them doing it, and I don't care what seed that they are. I'm picking the Lakers. I know they're down 1-0 and they play tonight. But the Lakers, I think LeBron, AD, they're just going to find a way to come out the West. But I think those are my 2 teams to make the NBA Finals. Gerard, you got any say in this? I don't know if you're a basketball guy. I
am a Knicks fan, and I watched Trae Young hit that shot from a cab in Atlanta. So yeah, but I do. It's the Nets just. Every game they play feels like it feels like a playoff game. Like teams are killing themselves to try and beat this team, and that's when they're rarely ever at full strength. You said this was your cousin in Philly?
Yes.
Does he just want somebody to say the Sixers are going to win the East?
He might just want that. He might want to see someone say the Sixers, and I wouldn't discount the Sixers. Joel Embiid.
No, absolutely not.
They got guys.
The Nets are just going to be tough if they're going to all be healthy, but that's a big if because those guys are notorious for not always being healthy. And then the West. Jesus, it feels dumb to pick against LeBron, right? It's been like 20 years this has been happening. Most of my life, this guy's been in the finals. So, yeah, let's stick with it. Go with LeBron.
Yeah, it feels like you're betting in a losing bet by not picking that man sometimes. And I know it hasn't always worked out, but I hear that. But yeah, all right, let's keep it going. Kevin Kramer says, after last night, I'm just here to listen. My mama said, if you don't have anything nice today, keep your mouth shut. Kevin, I totally feel you. My mama and my dad said the same thing. So I feel you on that. Steelers fans 111168 says, what is going on with Mitch Keller?
Yeah. So, in talking to Oscar Marine, they're not ready to give up on him, which is, what you're supposed to do when a guy's that talented. I say this all the time with Keller, and I think, Chris, you've heard me say this. It's not potential anymore. It's capability. The guy's more capable than anybody else on the staff. You go back to that start against Atlanta. I think it was the second at bat against Dansby Swanson. Just hammer curve, best slider he threw all night, and then blows 96 past him. That's what he could do. He just, he misses in the zone too much because he's trying to hit the zone. He can be a little wild, and to sort that problem out, he just makes too many mistakes over the plate. Unfortunately, he's trying to figure it out in real time at the majors, which is not what people want to see. Usually you figure things out in games that aren't on television.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing here is that people are seeing him grow in
Right.
ways that impact their overall record. But again, that this is what a rebuild looks
Rebuild.
like. This is
Yeah.
what a blowing it up looks like. So I don't think that it's um I don't think that it's I don't think that that's something that I'd be surprised at. All right, let's keep rolling here. Eric Straight says, Chris, I know he's a workhorse, a running back, but are you afraid of him getting too much work so early? Talking about Najee Harris, I'm not. I don't think that that's an issue. I think the biggest issue with running backs comes when they keep taking a beating. And a beating is like how you actually like when running backs actually take blow after blow. Like Le'Veon Bell had multiple major injuries because Vontaze Burfict was going after his knees, was twisting his ankle after plays. Like those type of things were happening to Le'Veon Bell. But there's guys who do last a while and are able to stay. And here's the other thing: Najee Harris isn't a speedster. He's not a guy who's going to lose his speed. He's not just a power back. He's a guy that makes you miss. He's a guy that does a lot of different things to win. I actually think that this is a guy who would embrace this kind of a role and be just fine for the next 4 or 5 years. And then if he's still ticking by then, see what you want to sign him to for a future. If he's not, then you got what you could out of him. Yeah, I don't think that's a major concern. They're pretty happy about it. And speaking of Najee Harris, Rick Rizaldo says, "Hi guys, with the horrible weekend for the Bucks and the Pens, only good news is that Steelers got Harris signed. If you consider that good news, considering that was a formality and that was going to happen anyways, I feel you, Rick. But it was a rough one for Steelers fans. We got Straka Jager, who says, for the record, Carter's Classroom dominates. Thank you very much. It's my favorite thing to do on the website is crank out that feature for y'all every week. So we glad that y'all enjoying it.
It's so funny. That guy's name is Straka Jager. Like, I was too young to understand how important those two were to this city, but those two were on a line with the Rangers in like 2004 when I first started watching hockey, and like those two guys are the reason I kind of like hockey. Is Martin Straka and Jaromir Jagr on the same line together at the Rangers years after they were winning cups with the Penguins. So it's funny to see that guy's name.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Dan, our man from San Fran, says, which NFL rookies are you excited to watch this season? Doesn't need to be a Steeler. Now, I understand that question. I'm really excited to see what Justin Fields does for Chicago. I think that your Niners made a huge mistake taking Trey Lance over him. I think that Justin Fields is a more proven winner and has the tools that I'd be looking for in my quarterback for the future. But I really think that there's a chance Justin Fields could be the game changer for the Bears that really helps them finally get a competitive quarterback that is able to lead them into some wins. I like Rashawn Slater. I think that he's going to be a guy that plays really well for them. Patrick Surtain for the Broncos. The Broncos have had several really good cornerbacks over the years. I'm interested to see how he plays for them. And my last one, I guess, Michael Parsons with the Cowboys. The Cowboys have just had bad luck after bad luck with highly drafted linebackers that just get hurt, or just phase out. Michael Parsons could change the tone there, or he could continue the tone, but he's an impressive athlete. Penn State fans know what I'm talking about. Andy Watermarks. Go ahead.
I would be interested in seeing what Kyle Pitts does in Atlanta, especially if they move on from Julio Jones.
Yeah. That's a good question, because I was sitting there like when they picked him, I'm like, great. Now you got Julio, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts. Who are you stopping? Because that's a whole bunch of threats. But now with Julio basically saying I'm out of Atlanta.
What'd you think of that, by the way? Did you think Julio knew he was on air? Did you see the video?
I saw the video. I got the impression Julio didn't know he was on air, but I also got the impression he didn't care.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he was just like, when it happened, like it was something that he knew in the back of his mind. Hey, I don't want this to get out publicly, but if it did, he'd be like, oh, well, it's not my problem. I'm going to go somewhere. And so I think it was a matter of like he was okay with it, but meh. That being said, I think that Kyle Pitts, I also, can't forget about him. He might be able to blow it up a little bit this year. But Andy Moormark 17 says, why do you think the Steelers offensive line is viewed so awful outside the Pittsburgh media? Well, I think primarily it's because they didn't block well against the run last year. And I think that's something that you can say considerably, especially in the second half of the season. Now, granted, Yeah, and also I think you look at what happened with Marquise Pouncey as the year went on, and people, seeing a new guy fill in where a guy who had kind of a Hall of Fame career at a position, you're not, and the guy that's coming in for him as a rookie or an undrafted guy like BJ Finney, you're skeptical. So listen, I understand the skepticism about the Steelers' offensive line, but I also think there's a lot of reason to think that they can play well. I think that people are underestimating Kevin Dotson. I think people are underestimating Zach Banner actually being healthy for a season and being able to play. I think Okorafor can take more steps forward than people give him credit for. He played some really good games last year, especially when he shut out J.J. Watt early in the season. Now, did he roller coaster? Yes, and I've talked about that a lot. But I think part of it is a lot of people from the Nationals' perspective. There's all these different problems. There's that. But yeah, that's where the Steelers fan 111168 says, any chance Dan Moore sees any playing time this season? I actually talked about this recently also for us. I think Dan Moore does see time, but as the swing offensive tackle, I think that he's the guy that you line up as the sixth offensive lineman, bring him onto the field and kind of move him around the way that Zach Banner earned his time with the Steelers. So I think that's where he comes in. And as a run blocker from the SEC, I think that fits his style of play. Striker Yagerback says, blowing up the Pens makes 0 sense. I agree. I think we agree. So Striker, thank you, sir, for your question. Like, yes, I totally agree there. Swan269 says, hey, Gerard, do you share DK's assessment of the strength and depth of the minor league systems below AAA?
I'm not sure of what DK's said about them, but I do believe that the strength of the system is in Greensboro, and there's a couple names in AA, but I do think it's a young system, and that's good. It doesn't always have to be next man up. You're not going to get a new Cabrian Hayes every year, but yeah, I do think that Greensboro team, those 19 to 21-year-old age range guys, Quinn Priester, Nick Gonzalez, Liover Peguero, that's pretty much the cream of the crop in the system. And the draft picks will pretty much either start the season there next year. If it's a college guy, I'll probably start the season in Greensboro next year, and then hopefully end up in AA, or even push it even further. So yeah, and the other thing with this, their best prospect might not even be here yet. I mean, honestly, when you're drafting 1-1, that guy should be your number one overall prospect, and you're very lucky if he's not. And I don't think the Pirates are that fortunate, as good as Nick Gonzalez is.
We got Strachey with a few comments here saying the Penguins could not possibly dominate more, and they gave up 2 joke goals. I agree with that assessment. But this is an interesting point out here from David, who lives in Philadelphia. He says Pens fans sound like Flyers fans. This is something that I say all the time, is that, like, you don't. I never want to go the route of blow it up, get rid of everybody, because then you sound like the maniacal fans in all the other cities that haven't experienced championships recently, like Pittsburgh has. This is why I don't say to do it with the Steelers. This is why I don't say it with the Penguins. The Pirates are the Pirates. They're their whole other situation. But these are two organizations that are among the best of their sports in the past 20 years, 30 years, however long you want to stretch it back to. And you look at it, they're two major organizations, and blowing it up just doesn't. That's what you do in Cleveland with the Browns. That's what you do in Washington with the football team, because you can't call them their old team name. That's what you do in Jacksonville time and time again. Everyone's excited for Trevor Lawrence, but how many times have we been hyped up about who they just drafted this year in the top overall pick or the number 5 overall pick and things like that? I agree. Blowing up things is just, that's fan talk. And I get some fans may feel that way, but Pittsburgh fans, you have the opportunity to be to benefit from having to see lots of championships. I mean, in my lifetime, the Penguins have won 5 Stanley Cups. The Steelers have won 2 Super Bowls and been to 4. I mean, that's a lot of winning in this city. So I don't know. I feel like Dave has a point there, because I went to Chain University, so I've been in the Philadelphia area. I see how quickly they turn on their teams. You do not want to be characterized that way. Moving on here, Strakayager says, our passing game didn't pick up till they abandoned shorting at 2 seconds or less. Will this continue? I don't think so. I think the Steelers saw that and they're like, yeah, that's not going to be a big part of the game as much. Also, but they did that a whole lot because they couldn't run the ball last year. They've got Najee Harris. That won't be an issue. Steelers fans 111168 says, who is Rocio Contreras, or why is Rocio Contreras not being bumped up to AAA?
He's made 3 starts. Like, the season started May 7th. It's May like 25th. Like, can he pitch there? Yeah, sure, probably. But what difference does it make, man? I mean, is he ready? I believe he is ready, just based on what I've seen out of the kid. He's filthy. We saw him in spring training. We got to talk to Cole Tucker this weekend, and Cole has a hard time at the plate regardless. But even he just laughed. He's like, yeah, he's sick. He's so good. I think whether he's pitching in Altoona or he's pitching in Indy, it's really not going to make too much of a difference. I'd say he should at least get about 7 or 8 starts in the former Eastern League before he does go up to AAA. It would be cool to see him in the majors this year. It would. But I think that's going to take some trades and some injuries or some DFAs. And we've already seen how cautious or not even cautious, really, just they want to take it slow with some of these guys. Like Miguel Yajure probably could have started today, but they're going with Cody Ponce instead. What difference does it make on May 25th in 2021 with this team? You got Ildemaro Vargas and these other guys that weren't even in the plans in the lineup every day. And I feel bad. I do like Ildemaro Vargas. I don't like using his name like that, but yeah, the point remains.
Daniel Matos says, could Carey Price play better than Tristan Jarry? We got our Carey Price joke. I mean, obviously, right? Carey Price is the greatest thing known to man. He's better than Mel Blount as a quarterback. He's the greatest player of all time. So obviously, Carey Price would be better than Tristan Jarry. He did make a great save, though, last night. Trust me, like 1,000 people tagged me about it. I was like, I get it. He made a save. Good job. Win it. Sheesh. Anyways. Parsons 13 chat says, how did Najee and Haskins look? Hey, listen, just a full disclaimer. Dale was representing us at the at Steelers OTAs today. I've only been able to see the videos that he shared with me, as well as the content that we're putting up on DK Pittsburgh Sports. But the videos that I saw, Najee's feet look lightning quick, like they did in college. Haskins actually threw the ball pretty strongly, so that's there. But again, it's OTAs. You take a very small pebble out of that, and you're like, okay, let's just remember these little notes for later. This isn't when we're going to determine who's going to be the franchise anything. It's just, hey, let's see it. Now, I think the coolest thing you could take away from this OTA was that the most tenured player on defense, Cam Hayward, and the most tenured player on offense, Ben Roethlisberger, both showed up for day one of OTAs. I think that says a lot for what the Steelers have got there. All right. Dave says, Knicks suck. Trust the process. Go Sixers. You tried to throw him a bone with the Sixers, and he said, get out my face.
Yeah, right? Damn. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to meet the family right away, huh? I do like his hoodie, though. If that's Dr. J, I can only see a little cartoon of it, but that is a cool hoodie if that's Dr. J. Not yours, his in the picture.
I'm not wearing a hoodie. I'm sure.
No, yeah.
It is too hot for hoodies right now.
Yeah, that's true. Come on, man.
it was
like
all being
a baby,
nice.
Right? Like, yeah, it was like it's like literally like going up to a toddler and kicking him in the chest.
This kangaroo can just jump in there, drop kick, boom, get out my face. Hey, but that's Philly fans, man. They are real. They will come for you.
Right. I love my favorite thing about Philly fans is that they people bring up, oh, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. Like that's on the top 1,000 craziest things the Philly fans have ever done.
Listen, I've been around those guys. I had a guy try to fight me once. Because I said Larry Fitzgerald was beating them one year. He had like 3 touchdowns in a playoff game. This guy was like, your mother. And I said, my mother this, my mother that. You're still getting your butt whooped right now. And he was like, fight me. And I was like, why? It is a game. But I did stand up and I was like, what you want to do though? And then things calmed down. But anyways, my younger days of college. Eric Sears has got a jet. Guys, thanks again for doing this. Enjoy your afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Eric. We got to go soon, but we're going to try and get to as many questions as we can here. Scrolling back through. Sorry, there was a lot. You actually did a great job with getting us a ton of questions here. So I apologize if I miss any. Struggy Yager says, this has been my login name since the internet began. LOL. I feel you. I too want to hold on to my original names when I do the internet stuffs. Okay, let's keep rolling down here. Struggy Yager also says, Kevin Dotson is a smash mouth road grader. The national folks just don't know. I agree with that. Steelers fans 1168 says, why does the national media think the Steelers will finish third in the AFC North? I think a lot of this just is people, they've been bashing Ben Roethlisberger, which Cam Hayward spoke about today, and he doesn't want that to he thinks that that's ridiculous, and he addressed that. So I think a lot of his Ben Roethlisberger anti-hype, and people are hyping up Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield and what things are. And I get this. Some people are going to look at the collapse at the end of last year, but still, this was a team that finished 12-4 and won the division with the worst running game in football. Most worst running games in football finish 4-12, 3-13, 5-11. They don't finish 12-4. In fact, I went back over the last, I think, 11 seasons. No team finished with a better regular season record than the Steelers, while ranking last in both yards per carry or yards total rushing yards, which absolutely was the case there. Midnight Twitter says the John Wick universe. What's up with that, Gerard?
Yeah. I know who this guy is. This was my editor at MILB.com. We had a fun night. We used to leave the office in the winter to go get dinner. We're working at night and there's nothing going on. And I was explaining the John Wick universe by basically pointing at people on the street and be like, that guy's an assassin. And this is Darren Smith from one of the Brunswicks in New Jersey. I can't remember which Brunswick. But yeah, Darren, hello. I'm glad you're still following me.
Absolutely there. So thank you for throwing that in. Fun fact: Chris Carter has never seen a John Wick movie.
Dude, they're awesome.
I listen. You're like the 20,000th person to tell me this.
Oh,
It's
they're
just
so good.
Every time I talk about watching one, someone gets in the way of it. We have a question. Paulski 5 cents says, Chris, what is the cash and carry price of a growler at Mike's Beer Bar? Good question, because our show is brought to you here by Mike's Beer Bar. So that's why I'm looking through here. If I had to pick a growler right now, I would get me a Bane of Existence IPA. It's a 6.6% ABV from Hitchhiker Brewing right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I can't get you the price off of this video on my phone, but they have great prices. You can also get a Crowler, which is a can, like a 32-ounce can of beer, which is awesome. So check them out for that. But I love their IPA selections. If you're a beer snob, if you're a beer nerd, this place will have everything that you want and so much more. And even the ones that don't got on tap, they got 80 on tap. They got 500 beers available, cans, bottles, all the things that are freshly refrigerated. Again, go there to the North Shore, check them out. Thanks so much for everyone who does, because I love going there. Last few things here, Gerard. Steelers fan asks, any chance the Pirates take one of the Vanderbilt guys instead of another shortstop, or do they have to have too many shortstops?
I don't know that there's such a thing as too many shortstops. It's a very important position. I think it's wide open right now. That's the challenge is going to be scouting the high school kids beyond their season, because now that your draft is another month later than it usually is, these scouting schedules are going to be very different, and these kids are going to have showcases and things like that are going to make them look better than they might be. It's going to be a different sort of feeling, because they're not going to have it's not going to be in game situations because there's that extra month. Whereas the college kids, you have the extra couple weeks. You get to see how they perform on, the national stage in the CWS, which I assume that the Vanderbilt guys are going to be there. Assume is one thing. It's still very hard to make the College World Series, be one of those 8 teams. But yeah, I think the the way I would answer this is I'm interested in seeing how they scout high school kids now with the different schedule of the draft, just because these seasons aren't going to be going into June. I know. I don't know when does school end now in high school. It's May in most of the country, right? So the
It
draft is
was
going to
at least
be
June when I was
yeah. For me, it was the end of June.
hmm
So that's even if it was that, there's still another few weeks between that and and hopefully by that last month they have a better sense of what they're going to do. But yeah, I think it's wide open. I wouldn't count out Leiter. I still wouldn't count out Rocker. I saw a mock that had him going all the way down to 7.
Wow.
And the catcher from Louisville, Henry Davis, had jumped up to the top 4 there. Marcello Meyer, who's not Jordan Lawler, like those two guys are the two shortstops, the high school shortstops whose names are going to be around the top of the draft. And I want to say Brady House is the other kid. I
Okay.
believe he's from Georgia. Another shortstop, I think. Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, no, it all depends on what they value, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how that last month, that extra month of scouting, because like look at last year's draft, all they had was a month of scouting,
hmm
and they had to be. It was only 5 rounds, but they had to build an entire draft off of that. So a lot can change in a month. A month ago, we were talking about like fast forward to July and let's get Jack Leiter in the rotation by September. But now it's like I don't know.
Last 2 questions here. David Dongbauer says what position are the Steelers most likely going to sign in free agency? I still say they're going for an edge. It was rumored that they went after Ryan Kerrigan. I still think that's what they're looking at here. They do not want to go into this year with just Cassius March and Quincy Roche behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, though of course cornerback would be in consideration and offensive tackle as well. I just think that things work out better for the edge guys that are available. Final question here from Parson13 Chad says Gerard, will Hayes be back by June 19th? And this is a personal question because Parsons is going to that game.
Yeah, I figured that was a very specific date. He's eligible to come back June 3rd. He's already started rehab, so they know it's going to be about like a 10-day rehab. Yeah, I think that he's going to be good for that June 3rd. Really, that first day to come back, barring any sort of anything new happening with that wrist. It was like an awkward swing. There's a pop. Sports injuries, man. They happen at any point in time. So
that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for listening to the Afternoon Ask Anything. We'll be back tomorrow with more of our writers talking to you right here, whether you're watching live on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Periscope, or listening to us on DK Sports Radio or DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. Thanks again for listening, and thanks to all those saying we're doing a great job. We appreciate your comments as well. Tune in tomorrow for another great show.